All right, all right, all right. What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day. Welcome to today's session. We are going to do what we do every day. We're going to take a look at our 10 to 12 futures markets from an educational perspective, looking for both breakouts and reversal trades. Glad you're able to join us today. I know this is a bit of a shock. Somebody sent me a text message like, "What are you doing going live on a Tuesday?" So we normally go live on Wednesday, but two reasons. One, I was running behind, and frankly, it takes longer to edit the videos once I create them than it does just to go live. And since I was running behind this morning anyway, I thought it made sense to hop on and do a live session. And number two, I thought it was a good opportunity after we saw what happened on Thursday and Friday to go live to be able to take your questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. What I would like to do real quick is let me shrink my face here. Nobody needs to see my face all that much. And let's go ahead and get rolling. Open this up here so I can see your chat window. All right, so as we go through today, if you've got questions, make sure that you type them into the chat box. But let's go ahead and get started. Starting first with the equities markets. Do me a favor, just type in the chat box. Make sure that you can see my screen okay, and you can see everything that we're looking at, and that you can see my my desktop. Want to make sure that everybody can see that okay as we get started this morning. Okay, beautiful, Nick. For some reason, it's not showing up on my end of the feed that you guys can see it, but if you can see it, I'm good to go. All right. So we're down 35 points in the ES. Now, that is significant because last night we were up in the ES. When we looked at it last night, we were up, and the ES was gaining a bit of momentum. But we said, I believe that there's a chance we're going to continue to come hammering down. And we put a line here where we thought, okay, this will be the point where price would have to break down. I felt like in looking at yesterday, on our S&P, if I just pull up the SP itself, the SPX, for those of you guys that trade the SPX, we had if I throw my moving averages on there, we had pulled back into the bull area between the 20 and the 50-period moving average, which is normally a very bullish setup, right? That's normally a very bullish setup and something that we like to see. On the daily chart, we're in the bull area between the 20 and the 50, and so I thought, we might gain a little bit of momentum and start to reverse and head back higher. Well, the thing to remember is that we had to be proven that that was going to happen by going above Friday's high, the prior day's high. And we were unable to do so. So we put that line there at 34.87. John, we can take a look at Bitcoin a bit later. I don't mind taking a look at Bitcoin. I'd rather let me get through the equities markets and then we can look at Bitcoin. I don't mind analyzing that one bit. So I did believe, though, that if you wanted to get short, the opportunity was below this 34.15. Now, one thing that we didn't get was a super clean amount of basing here. We did in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ actually, which was the market that we wanted to go short, the NASDAQ gave us the basing required to go short and a very nice setup overall. So if you took that NASDAQ trade from last night's live trade room, you're doing pretty well. But let's see where our ES reversal opportunities might be if price kind of comes back up. So looking at this, if price comes back up, we've got a couple of different areas to take a look at. And the first and most obvious being this area right here. Now, the thing I like about this more than anything is the time of the day that it was created. I love levels that are created at the London Open. Levels created at the London Open are typically going to be very strong, very healthy levels. And when I get those very strong, very healthy levels, and I get a very good move away, that's ultimately what I want to see and what I want to look for. If we kind of, just come back up a little ways, you actually have another bite at the apple right about here. If we make it just back up to this region in here at 34, call that 34.05, there's another little area in there on the 15-minute. Both of those are 15-minute zones. Now, I could see us right at the open popping up to those and then hammering down even further. Okay, remember, I think that on the daily chart we're in the bull area, and I still think that overall this could be a very healthy pullback and a good opportunity to get long on a lot of quality stocks, but not until we're proven that we have the ability to head back up, which means getting above some of these highs. Now, as far as demand below me, where we can see price stopping, as far as demand below me, where we can see price stopping, if I move to a daily chart, you can see that there's a whole lot of just sideways price action in here. This sideways price action that we saw from the other day, or from, I guess would be the middle of the month, could act as a bit of a stalling point. But in reality, I think we may even trade, a bit lower down into here, unless we can get higher than this 34.87. That to me is still that line that says, okay, this is just a pullback with an opportunity to get long. And we look for that shape, right? That move up and then a rest is the shape that we look for. But this one has pulled back. This morning's momentum being down has made me a little bit more cautious of that move back up. And so we're just going to go with what the market gives us. And right now it's given us that short as our better opportunities. NASDAQ, same picture. How many of you, do me a favor, type in the chat box if you took the breakdown last night from our from last night's trade room. If you did, you've picked up about 200 points on that move. So hopefully you were able to hold on to that one in an overnight. That's not a bad, very good, Sean. Love to hear that, man. That's not a bad night's sleep when you can pick up a couple of 100 points while your head's on the pillow in the NASDAQ. So if you missed it and you still want to get involved in there, take a look at this wick over wick area right here. I just put a trade update out a few minutes ago, and inside there we talked about this wick over wick level as a strong and viable opportunity as a place to get short. So look at this. Now, I notice I put it as a confirmation. The reason I put it as a confirmation is because we did already trade into it once. And so I think that gives you still another chance to get in, another bite at the proverbial apple for you to get back in on this NASDAQ trade right here. Next would be our Russell trade. So in the rut, we had looked at this 1570 last night as really our line in the sand that price has to get above there before we'd be willing to do anything bullish. And especially because of all that price rejection that we saw in the Russell. All of that price rejection meant that that there was a better chance of price coming back up here again and basing before giving us then a breakout. Never made it all the way back up to that region. Matter of fact, came down pretty hard from there and are continuing to move down. And so from our overnight session, this would be our hourly level that makes the most sense. This little bit of basing in here right there where you kind of came back up and then dropped away very hard. So those would be my levels in my main equity markets. Looking at the Dow, I didn't really have anything marked off on the Dow last night. Still don't have a whole heck of a lot marked off on the Dow, but the Dow's down 158 after last night when we were doing the trade room being up 200 and something, right? So we've had about a 400-point swing in the Dow just in the overnight session, and so I think that we're going to see that momentum continue to carry down on these lower positions. So those are our 4 U.S. equity markets. Before I head off away from the U.S. equity markets, does anybody have any specific questions on equities? I want to do my best to make sure that I get as many of those questions answered as possible regarding some of those equity positions. All right, let me move on here then. Let me just post the, I'm going to share this trade grid in here for you. Let me share this grid so that you all have it. All right, so I posted the grid into the chat box. By the way, if you don't mind today, those of you guys that are on here, if you would, doesn't take you but half a click second to do it. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy doing these live sessions. Last one of these live sessions, I got a whole bunch of thumbs down for some reason. I blame the bots. I blame the computers. But do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, subscribe to the channel so that you can get the alerts when we do these things, when we do go live. All right. Next, commodities, which I think I'm going to be doing these lives a bit more frequently. They're frankly a little bit easier than recording every day. Looking at commodities. So last night in commodities, specifically crude oil, we were looking at a bear pennant in crude. A bear pennant in crude, which was this move down followed by this bear pennant. Now, we talked about the fact that in order to get short, we would need basing right there at about that 38.90. And look at that beautiful basing and that great setup that we had. And our goal was to hit target at 37. So this move from 38 down all the way down to here. So this move here happened, I mean, quick. This was just a few hours. And so if you would keep an eye on this level, this was a really, really strong level, big move down. Did anybody catch that one from last night? Nick, I think, you wouldn't have been awake last night during last night's session. Hopefully, because it is a picture-perfect breakdown, right? I mean, you got 3 touches, you got basing in front of the move, and you got a very nice move away in that level. So now we've got to look for the retest if price comes back up as it's hit our target. Our target in that trade was 37. Oh, sorry, Nick. I'm going to look at this level right up in here as our next most viable trading opportunity. I think right there, price comes back up to, what's that bottom number? 38.26 by 38.51. Now, that's kind of in the middle of the move. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, you could go all the way up to 39 for the reversal up here. But that 38.26 by 38.51 is right there kind of in the middle of the move. Strong, nice move away. Now we're bouncing off this 37 area, and we gotta zoom out to see where that 37 is and why it's there. We had a couple of months ago. If we go back a couple of months ago, we had some potential breakdown line right there at 37. That was a breakdown area that we had in place, and so technically that breakdown area is still valid if we get basing in front of that level. We poked just a bit below it with no basing, but that doesn't make the level invalid. And so you still have a little bit of basing in here and an opportunity to take another breakdown. And if we get that breakdown, where's our next lower low, kind of beneath there? Well, I think you can see price run down to 35.50. So if we get the basing, look for price to run down to 35.50 as really our next level, our next area of opportunity in crude oil. But lots of supply areas up there above us for us to pay some specific attention to. All right, so let's go next to gold. Now, gold last night was doing the same thing it's doing today. A whole lot of nothing. There's not a whole lot happening in the gold markets. A fair amount of sideways price action, as we can see that we've rallied up. We rallied up in the overnight and then kind of sold off. We did get a little bit more on the bearish side of the sideways price action, but still overall, it's kind of net bearish. Looking at this, if we do come back up, this supply area here is actually pretty clean in a retest capacity, 1935 by 1942. That level formed at a pretty good time of day. Typically, things formed at that time of day are going to be worth paying attention to and worth looking into. And I think you may get a decent reversal off of that zone. Now, one of the things when we look at this GC, we've actually still got a GLD iron condor in place. Those of you that trade options, as an options trader, you could look at the iron condor as a position in the GLD. I want to say that our iron condor is around the 175 by 185 kind of range, and it's sitting nicely inside of that area. But do be aware of, just looking at our price shape here, we definitely have a bit of a descending triangle. So as that iron condor is still working, just know that descending triangle and that slowing of momentum is definitely going to give me pause to say, hey, I'm going to be pretty quick to pull some money off the table if we break below that breakout line, because that would be the area of concern of price kind of getting below there, that price can continue to fall. Now, what if you do trade options? If you're looking for an options trade and an options opportunity overall in this, if we break below here, I think there's a chance that we trade all the way down here to this 170 region, because this is very clean air. Right, we'd consider this clean air with plenty of room for price to run down. So if you're not in a position now and you're interested in getting into one, if we break below there, let me throw my moving average or Applied volatility up there. We're sitting right there in the middle of our range. So the bear put spread would make the most sense if that is one that you're interested in. And our rules on a bear put spread tell us that to do an effective bear put spread, I have to have a I have to have a 25 delta. Yes, Nathaniel, I'm sorry, I didn't even see that chat window that you put it in there. Yeah, bear put spread would make sense. I need to have a minimum of a 25 delta, and I want to have my spread no bigger than 50% of my my debit no bigger than 50% of my spread. So if I did the let's see. Let's look at the 180 by 170. Let's just start with a $10 spread. So the 180 by 170 gets me close to my delta. I'm not quite there, so I got to do the 180 by 169, which is an $11 spread, but I've only got a $4 debit, and so that would be the current setup at the moment. Now on the breakdown, those numbers are going to be slightly different. But the key to look for, if you wanted to do that, is this net delta number over here. So if you're wondering what are the things I need to look for, it's this net delta number down here, this 25 delta, and this debit of 4 being less than 50% of that spread of 11. So I think that might be a pretty good way to trade that. Whoops, went to my old trade list. All right. So next, looking at our commodity markets, nat gas. We looked at a couple of levels yesterday. We are still in between our nat gas levels. Price hasn't come back up. We've got a breakdown below. Nathaniel, what can't you see? Just if you wouldn't mind letting me know, just so I make sure I'm sharing the right screen still. I'm always concerned my screen share isn't working properly. If you wouldn't, when you get a minute, type that in the chat box. I'm going to keep teaching because I think it's still working. But the level up here that we've got 2.635 by 2.659 would be our reversal level if price comes back up into there, and I still think it's pretty good. Oh, Nathaniel says the delta on the option. So on the Nathaniel, all the way on the very bottom of my screen, on the bottom right. Oh, that's what you can't see. Never mind. My screen is. Hold on. Let me resize my screen so that you can. I didn't even realize that my screen was sized in a way where you couldn't see the bottom of it. Hold on. You could tell that I'm a real true professional here. There we go. Now you should be able to see it. So thank you for that. So I resized the screen so that it all should make more sense now. All right, awesome. Yeah, there's that delta, the delta of 25. Appreciate that. So going back in, nat gas, little level up in here, 2.635, 2.659. If we get a reversal in there or a breakdown at 2.402, we're in between there at the moment. Copper, we are coming close to a potential copper level. What I'm not a huge fan of, though, is this amount of basing that we're getting here in front of the level. Remember, when I get basing right here, if I took this trade, my stop has to be below the pivot, which is here. So if I duplicate that drawing, that right there represents a 1-to-1 reward to risk. Well, this basing that we had right here basically makes this a 1-to-1 trade. And so it's a lower probability when it's a 1-to-1. So you may want to take this and shrink the trade down if you want to be a bit more aggressive on the level, or just remove it altogether based upon that basing that we're coming into there. I think that it makes more sense to remove it overall and not to take that risk and that exposure as price is coming down into that level. Looking at our soybean trade, we have a level in soy down here, 956 by 953. That will be our next area to get long if price comes back down to that region. And then corn, we had a short last night in corn. Now, I will say that last night when we set this trade up, we set it up as a confirmation entry. And we kind of hovered around here. Now, this is the 6-candle rule. If you're awake, would tell you, hey, you should probably get out of this position. I will say that I set this up as an overnight trade, and it worked out really well because it came down and hit our eventual profit target. We put this down here as an opportunity to get long on the retest of that area. However, if you took that long, 1, 2, or 3 candles into it, and it's not giving me a whole lot of confidence at the moment, but our short worked out for a pretty nice target. Did anybody let that one run in the overnight as they were sleeping? We allowed that one to run in the overnight as we were sleeping to pick up a little bit of move down as price came out of there. So I need to remove that upper level, and that was and by the way, that's a really nice clean wick over wick area. Nice, John. I mean, it's I think it's what, like $125 per contract. So it's a nice little pickup in the morning. It gives you lunch money for a couple of days, and it's all over this wick over wick, and that's one of the shapes that I really, really like the most. For those of you guys that are watching this that are not regular viewers, you'll hear me talk about this concept of a wick over wick level. And a wick over wick is an area where I have 2 wicks of roughly the same size that are also overlapping the bodies of the candles that are adjoining. And so what I do is I wrap my lines around the wicks themselves, right? And now that'll cut into the bodies just a bit, but that is an area where I tend to see a lot of reversals happen. A lot of reversals happen at those little wick over wick areas, especially when they're right around a pivot. And that's exactly what we saw here. This was a very clean wick over wick just below the pivot high. Now your stop still has to go up here above that pivot. And then you can take your stop and move it down once it starts moving your way if you're not comfortable with that width of the stop. But that's ultimately the key, is that you've got the right stop in place. So if you don't already look for those wick over wick levels, please start to do so. Those are very nice, very clean areas where you're going to see really strong reversals and pretty good opportunities. All right. Let's move over to currencies for a few minutes. And in our currency markets, one of the things that we talked about yesterday is that there was just not a whole lot happening. But we did take a look at a couple of currencies with some decent movement, and I think that those are still in play. Now, we were looking overall a bit more bearish than anything. And our first setup was, if we get a breakdown below this line here with basing, we think prices are going to keep on running through. But if we get to the demand level below, then it would become a confirmation long if you wanted to take the long. The basing here, I think, would have cut right through this level like a knife through butter. But since we didn't get the basing, I think that there may be a little hold on this level. This level might hold out and give us a bit of a bounce. I don't think that it's worth going long on that bounce, personally. I think that, yes, we can look at the Mexican peso, absolutely. I don't know that it makes sense to get long on that bounce, but if I go to a 15-minute chart, go to a smaller time frame, I wouldn't be mad at you for taking a look at this little wick over wick area right here as an opportunity to short. Now, you might say, Chuck, why not this level up here? I think there's a chance that this level could reverse as well, but I think you're better at the level just above where I think we could see a bit of a reversal. So let's keep an eye on that one today. Once again, if we get basing in front of the level, it's going to be the kiss of death, right? Kiss of death is basing in front of a level. In the euro, nothing really to add from our prior levels. I mean, we may have a breakdown here. If we get basing, you could see a quality breakdown at this point. So let's keep 7777 in line. Isn't that the number for the taxis in New York, or for a car service? Those of you who live in the city, let me know. I'm pretty sure that's the number for a car service in the city. All right. Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar is also hammering down. We're coming close to our 15-minute area of demand. But as we get closer to that 15-minute area of demand, we're actually starting to bounce off of there. I thought so, Kevin. Dial 7. If we get a better bounce off of this, I actually love this area right here. 761, 7614 for a good reversal point. Because of this basing we're getting in front of this level down here, I'm going to remove this one down here on this zone. Great British Pound. So our Great British Pound, anybody grabbed the Great British Pound breakdown from last night? This one has worked out exceptionally well. We got basing. we had our multiple touches. We had our level right here. We had basing before the level and a very nice, strong move away. So this was also from last night's trade room as we got a pretty nice, strong move away. Yeah, no problem, David. We can look at that. Let me put that on my list of things to look at. And so now, if we come back up, that actually is going to set up for a good retest level right back into that region. And I'm going to remove the breakout line here because we popped through it without any basing. So I'm going to leave this 134 as our next area. All right. So next level that we would look at would be the Japanese yen. Thank you, Zohabi. Appreciate it. Looking at this area up here, we've got 94401 as 94485 for our supply. If we don't get basing coming into there, I still think that's going to be a pretty good little area. That's a decent zone. There was a bit of a tweezer top there where price moved away, where we could see a reversal. I think there could be some sell orders left in there. I'm going to be very tight, though. If we get into there, I want to take profits right away. I wouldn't want to let that thing linger, and I'd want to pull money off the table sooner rather than later. Yeah, I'm sorry, Kevin. It wasn't supposed to be live originally. And the recording of this will be up very shortly afterwards. But I went live because I was running a bit behind. So I can run through the lines again real quick at the end. So looking at the Mexican peso, I haven't looked at the peso in a while. So let me remove all of my lines so I can start fresh. So in my 4-hour chart, we are trending up, but we saw a pretty big sell-off right through here. So with that sell-off that happened, I would now need to look for a decent reversal point. And in looking for a decent reversal point, your 4-hour wick over wick would be the next, in my mind, clearest stopping point. So that would tell me that I would want to look for shorts above me. And in looking for shorts above me, my eyes immediately go to this right here. Trim that down to a 15-minute, and I can't use that one because it's already been retested here. I'd actually be better off coming right there. So my analysis is not overly complicated, right? I start at the 4-hour. I then move to the 1 hour, and then we slide to the 15-minute chart. And I think that actually is a really clean level where we could see a reversal if price makes it up to there. We may not make it up to that region. And if we don't make it up to that region, then you certainly still could look for basing and to take a breakdown. But this is our 4-hour area of demand where I think price has the best chance to make it back into that region. Okay? All right. Let me do this. Let me share with everybody my commodities screen. Make sure I put this in here. So I put the commodities screen in there. I think that's the one. Oops. Actually, that was the equities I just sent you again. That's the commodities screen. And then let me share currencies. And then we can take a couple of minutes and go look at some individual stocks if you guys want to look at those, or if you want to review any of the other sessions. Pardon me while I'm typing on 2 monitors at one time. All right. All right. So those, now you should have the currency, the equities, the currencies, and the commodities. All of them are shared with you there in the chat window. So I think that overall, like I said, or I think overall that today our bearish sentiment is probably going to continue. After our breakdown trades from last night, we've got a couple of decent reversal opportunities where if price comes back into that region, we can see things coming long into this area. For those of you guys that are regular Traders Army members, hopefully you made some pretty good coin last night. Last night we had a lot of good trades set up in the live trade room. If you're not part of the Traders Army group, feel free to join us. We are actually adding a whole bunch of stuff to the website. If you go to the website and you use promo code grandfather, you're going to be grandfathered in as we are looking at making some changes to the site. We're going to be adding a lot of features and classes, and with that, we're going to see a little bit of a subscription increase. But anybody who signs up by the 10th is grandfathered in at our current $99 subscription. That way you guys can just have it. I think you get 50% off the first month. So, all right. So somebody asked me to look at BO. Let me look at BO. Bean oil. I never look at that one. So it's what, ZB? No, it's not ZB. It's ZO, right? Is it ZO? No. What the heck is it on Thinkorswim? I never look at it. What's the ticker symbol, David, for bean oil? Do you know on Thinkorswim? Because I do not. I haven't looked at this one in a really long time. I know I've looked at it before. ZL, thank you, Liz. I was just about to say, Liz is the one who usually tells me what the ticker symbol is. I didn't know if you'd made it in or not. All right. So, John, the goal is to create a phone app. I will tell you it's not super high on the priority list because I've every single quote I've gotten for building the app has been astronomically high, and economically it just didn't make sense from a business standpoint to build it. Eventually, I would like to do that, though. It's definitely on the list. We are working on better functionality from a notification standpoint, so everybody gets better notifications of when we do updates. So it's there; it's just not there as of yet. All right, so 3240 by 3221 would be our next area of demand. Our 4-hour is very sideways here in bean oil. So when I've got a sideways 4-hour market, it immediately tells me that the best thing to do is probably just to sit tight. But that demand area could be a price magnet. Now, we do have a gap fill trade here where we could bounce off of the gap as there's this little gap fill area. Something tells me that we may bounce off this little gap fill area and then just get an opportunity to get short up above us, as I like this area here in looking at this for a short. So, David, you use TradeStation. So in TradeStation, do you not see the gap, David? Or, oh, no, you different ticker symbol. I see what you mean. Yeah, I know oftentimes in TradeStation you won't see futures gaps, anywhere near like we can see them inside of Thinkorswim, and so it's not always going to be the same. But I think that you could get a little bounce off this 3290, but if you do, I think this 3329. So for an intraday trade, I think that's a decent little setup. Now, you've got a little 15-minute level here that was just created that actually, based on this big move away, might even be better as a 15-minute level right here. So I think ultimately this 3240 is a pretty good price magnet, but we're still inside of our 4-hour range, and bouncing off the gap fill level up into here could be a good day trade. I think the next time we would come down into here, though, I would look for price to continue to fall. Okay? So that's my thoughts on bean oil. Anybody got any individual stocks you want me to look at? Somebody asked me to look at Bitcoin. So when I look at Bitcoin, the way that I normally look at Bitcoin is on TradingView, because I can then pull the I can then pull the Bitcoin chart, and so I just use I use TradingView to look at Bitcoin. I don't use TradingView all that much, but I know a lot of people do use TradingView for a lot of different things. And so the last time I looked at Bitcoin, I looked at a daily chart right here, and this daily chart that you can see was the area of demand that made the most sense. Now, I think that's a good setup and a good level. The problem is that when I looked at it, Bitcoin was somewhere around here. And so I think that's still a good level, a good trade, but I don't like the basing that we're getting directly in front of the level. So for those of you that trade Bitcoin, I think that becomes a pretty tough area to really do anything with. And so I'd have to, on an hourly chart, if I wanted to say, price could make it into there, looking at this thing on an hourly level, damn, that's a really nice supply area on an hourly chart. So I do like this area here on an hourly level right there. So let me draw that line properly. So this area up in here for a short, where you've got a little of those wick over wicks, and this is, let me remove this. I'm just going to draw the lines themselves. I'm not good with the drawing tools on this platform. You can tell how much I use it. All right, so this area right here would be where I would look for some decent hourly supply for those of you that trade Bitcoin. I think that's actually a really clean hourly supply level there, 11,317. So, and look, just as I say that, the market starts jumping up on that one. So, all right, going back to equity markets, one that I want to, well, take a look at that real quick. Oh, yeah, same one. One thing I want to look at real quick is I want to take a look at Apple, because I know a lot of people are going to be trading Apple. Apple in the pre-market is trading at about 114. It is a good breakdown, Nathaniel. My fear on the breakdown in that Bitcoin position is that there is not a tremendous amount of room to roam down below there. Apple looks like we're going to open up at about 114, 114.07 by 114.15 is where we're trading right now. So if we open up in that 114 region, I will say from a pure daily chart, that's a heck of a good reversal candle. But the way that candlestick works is you don't get long until you get above the prior day's high. That prior day's high sitting there at 123.84 is where I would need to get above in order for this reversal candle to be confirmed. And so if we open up at 114, I'm not willing to get long right at the open, because we're going to open up down here near the low of Friday if we open up somewhere down in here. So if we get up above that 123.84, up above that high, then I think you've got a chance to get long, and I think that could be a really good longer-term opportunity to get in to Apple, which, everybody wants to get into Apple. All right, it's Apple. Do we think that Apple could trade all the way back down to this gap? Well, I think it was overextended before they announced the split, right? So if price makes it all the way down to here, that's really your best trade, is at the gap fill level and closing the window when price gets down to there, if indeed that it does. But keep an eye on it, because it could get there fairly quickly. The other stock that a lot of people really pay attention to is Tesla. And I got a text yesterday asking me, is Tesla a good buying opportunity? And I didn't get a chance to respond via text, but Tesla right now is same thing with Apple. I mean, you've got a really nice big move up and a nice strong pullback. Matter of fact, if I pull up a Fibonacci retracement of this daily move, we're going to see that that is right on a fib rejection. You're going to see that right there at the 50%, we kind of started to get a bit of a bounce off of this most recent move. Only if we get higher than Friday's high, that's the only way that I can get in, right? Well, look at where we're trading in the pre-market. In the pre-market, we're trading at 354. So we're trading right about here in the pre-market. So certainly it's not going to be an opportunity to get long unless we get above the prior day's high. Could we pull back into this region here? That might be a decent little pullback zone if we make it all the way back to here. You're certainly going to have a lot of buyers at the whole round number there of 300. Okay? Nathaniel, I did not do silver. Let's take a look at silver real quick. So we looked at silver last night, and the levels that we had talked about was a breakdown below 26,132. And then we've got a supply up there at 28,685 by 28,834. If we get a decent reversal on this, bounce off of here and come back up, you might even get a 15-minute smaller time frame trade. I have to do this wick. This unbalanced wick over wick is probably my best one at 27,041 by 27,134. That would be where I'd be looking for this as an opportunity. All right. If you guys could all do me a quick favor, everybody hit that little thumbs up button. That really means a lot. The computers know that, that way I know that it's not just Russian bots watching me. Although sometimes I get a few of those in there and they type weird things into the chat box. Although I didn't get any today, which is nice. And do me a favor, throw that. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Hey, Sean, I appreciate that, man. I hope you guys really enjoy the community. We really want to share the love with everybody, and have you all come on and join us. So I know Corey's got a live options class today, and he's doing that today at 10 o'clock Central. So that's going to be in about 2 hours. Tushar, I did cover corn this morning. Let me go back to it real quick for you. So we looked at corn. We had a really nice move off of our corn supply area last night for an overnight trade. The demand area below is not really doing as well. We're not, it's not really holding up all that well in the demand area where we saw the breakout occur. The short worked until it hit target, and then the demand area down below is just kind of hovering around. So if you didn't get into the demand area, I think you still can just do it on a candle-to-candle style on a smaller time frame. But, I think now, especially now because we sold off of this and we based up there, I actually think you've got a good breakout opportunity above these highs when price comes back into this region. So I think that's going to be an okay breakout trade as well. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great day. If there's anything you need, as always, shoot us an email, support@tradersarmy.com. If you, is that options class for beginners? Murray, absolutely it is. So if you go to, let me pull this up real quick. If you go to the site and you go underneath Learn, once you are a member, all the on-demand courses, which you have here. What's up, Steve? Steve, we need to get together and play a round of golf at the club, man. Or we need to just at least get a coffee or a beer at Triple B's. 3 B's. Under the on-demand courses, these are actually all the courses, by the way. When you're a member, you get access to all of these courses for the same monthly membership. Underneath Options Foundations, this is the most basic options course that you'll probably ever take. We really want to start you off at nothing, Murray, so that you can kind of get started with the foundation. So go watch Options Foundations first, and then as you get better, you can take strategic options trading. And these are all broken down into, I would say, anywhere between 40 and 45-minute sessions in the options. So Options Foundation starts with what is an option? How do I calculate premium? What is liquidity? What's exercise? Volatility, Greeks, the VIX, risk graphs, long stock versus buy and call, short stock. So we don't even really get into options trading until like class number 8, because we believe that you need to have a good foundation before you get into really diving into the different strategies. And so that's the Options Foundation sessions for those of you guys that are members of the session. And the other class that's going to be added here soon is Wealth Essentials, which I'm looking forward to the Wealth Essentials class being added. So, all right, everybody. That's all I got for you today. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day. And I will talk to you soon. See ya.